Welcome to the Everyday Tarot Podcast, your deep dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, your hallowed high priestess, tarot reader, and professional witch. And today I'm talking about tarot for Aries season. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every Monday morning to check out the latest episodes. You can check out video episodes on Spotify or YouTube, or audio anywhere you get your podcasts. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. If you want to access the most up-to-date info on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and info and photos of my day-to-day life, my newsletter is the one-stop shop. So the link to join that will be in the show notes. If you're interested or know someone that might be a good fit to be a guest on the podcast, you can fill out my form that's linked in the show notes or send that to your friend or colleague that you would love to see on the show. And newly, if you'd like to get a 30-minute 5-card tarot reading from me, you can go now to, I'll put the link in the show notes, to my cal.com link for a 30-minute tarot reading to book that now. You can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on Patreon, in addition to the images of the cards I pull for each episode. All right, and today I am discussing tarot in Aries season, or tarot for Aries season. Welcome to the beginning of the zodiac new year. So Aries, zodiac sign. Aries is the initiator. It is ruled by Mars, and the glyph, or kind of the image, the symbol associated with it looks like the horns of a ram. So that's often how Aries is depicted, kind of busting through to kick off the zodiac season. So for Aries season in 2026, we go straight into it on March 20th. So I'm actually recording this on the 24 hours as we move into Aries season. You'll be listening to this in a couple weeks when we're a bit into the season. And then so we go March 20th this year through April 19th. So each season is, about a month of the year, as you are well aware, but it looks slightly different from year to year as to what days those fall on, as well. Let's see. So yeah, when we talk about the zodiac houses, so Aries is associated with the first house, because again, it is the first, it is the beginning of the zodiac year. It's the first of the season. So it is ruled by Aries is associated with the first house. Its rulership is physical appearance and first impressions. As I said, Aries is associated with the ram, so that's its ruling sign, and it's associated with leadership. Its ruling planet is Mars, planet of energy and aggression. And when we get into tarot and the wheel of the year, let's see. So yeah, the signs and planetary rulers. So for Aries, it is a cardinal sign, and it is associated with the fire element, right? Appropriately so, as we think about Aries kicks off the zodiac year. Again, it's the fire element. So we cycle through the different elements through the zodiac year. Cardinals are fixed signs. I'm gonna have to look that up real quick. And then, yeah, we're associated with the fire element, which, right, makes sense with its association with Mars as well. Mars seen as the fiery red planet. So let's get into its associations with tarot. So its associations with the major arcana cards. So Aries is actually associated with the Emperor. And I'm going to read a little bit from my favorite book for this topic, Tarot and Astrology, Enhance Your Readings with the Wisdom of the Zodiac, a book by Karine Kenner. So this is what informs a lot of what I share in these episodes. And I'm going to be going to the section about Aries. So Aries comes to life in the form of the Emperor card. Whether you think of him as an astrological sign or a tarot card, he's the leader of the pack. The Emperor typifies the Aries personality. They are fearless, confident, courageous, and completely in control. He's a master and commander. What else here? A visionary ruler and lord of all he surveys. He creates order out of chaos and transforms his conquests into an empire and a civilization of his own design. Which again, when we kick off the zodiac season, right, Aries is this leader, creator, right, known as the initiator. So this all makes sense here. The emperor is ready to protect and defend his realm at a moment's notice, like Ares, the Greek god of war from whom the sign was named. The Romans called him Mars, and the planet named in Mars's honor is assigned to the Tower card. So that is the other major arcana card associated with it, so I'll talk about that in a minute. Even today, the warlike god is remembered in terms like martial arts and martial law. That's very interesting, right? When we think about Mars, right, we have this sort of Martian aspect to it. As the embodiment of the first sign, the Emperor symbolizes leadership and initiation. They're adventurous, pioneering, and decisive. He is forceful, blunt, and direct. I'm going to be changing some of the pronouns in this, right? The Emperor card is often seen as the masculine form, but all of us can embody masculine traits. All of us have feminine and masculine traits within us. So I'm going to change to more they, them pronouns here because they are doing all he, him, basically. So the Emperor is forceful, blunt, direct, and just as Aries leads all the other signs, right, again, as being the kickoff to the zodiac year, the Emperor leads a vast collection of kingdoms, lands, and territories. You'll discover clues to the Emperor's Aries nature in most versions of the Emperor card. So if you have a tarot deck, you can go through it and look at your Emperor card there. So the Aries glyph looks like the horns of a ram. And in fact, images of rams and rams' horns are incorporated in many artists' renditions of the Emperor card. In the Wizard's Tarot that they depict in this book, the Aries influence is prominently featured in the warrior's helmet with horns of a ram. So Aries rules the head, and true to form, the Emperor leads with the head, not the heart. They are willful, stubborn, and strong, and rules through logic and reason. They can be rigid and inflexible. Their word is law. Right, and that's kind of the authoritarian energy we get from the Emperor card a lot of the times. It says the connection isn't limited to health or physical issues. Think broadly and symbolically. The Emperor is the head of the state. Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, occupies the first house of the natural horoscope. So it's the head of the zodiac household as well. The first house is where astrologers look for information about first impressions and physical appearance. Aries is a fire sign. In both astrology and tarot, the element of fire symbolizes spiritual energy. As a result, the Emperor can be hot-headed. All that fire makes them passionate about the causes that they believe in. They are bold, brash, and self-confident. They do not doubt themselves for a moment or question the rightness of the cause. People with a strong Aries influence in their charts can seem like rams and emperors. They're not afraid to butt heads or to use their heads as a battering ram. In argument, the heady emperor can outsmart, outmaneuver, and browbeat almost any opponent. They hold a battery of facts at their disposal. They are hard-headed too. It's not easy to get them to change their mind. Occasionally, the emperor is even called upon to give up his life for his people or his cause. After all, rams were sacrificial animals in the ancient world. Aries' ruler, Mars, is a red planet traditionally associated with the unbridled energy and passion of war, as well as aggression, self-defense, and action. The mythic cross connections don't stop there. In mythology, Mars and Venus were lovers, and in tarot, Venus is assigned to the Empress card. While the Empress holds court in a lush and fertile garden, the Emperor rules from a far more Spartan landscape. He is all business. In tarot, Mars corresponds to the Tower card, which again, I'll get right into in a moment. The sun travels through Aries generally between about March 21st and April 20th. So this year in 2026, it's about March 20th through April 19th. The sign marks the first month of spring and the first day in the astrological year. So yeah, if you're following like the zodiac or astrological year, the beginning of the year is the kickoff to Aries season, which is the spring equinox if you're in the northern hemisphere. So this makes it a cardinal sign. It's an initiator and a self-starter. The emperor doesn't wait to take action or look around for someone else to take the lead. While Aries introduces new beginnings, other signs will step in to provide the follow-through that an emperor requires from their followers. Aries rules the first house of self, where astrologers look for information about physical appearance and first impressions. So let's move on to Mars with the Tower card. And again, the tower associated with Mars. Mars is associated with energy, aggression, self-defense, action, and the glyph for Mars looks like a shield and a spear. So Mars is, again, the warrior planet of energy, aggression, assertiveness, and self-defense. At the same time, the tower is a bastion, a fortification, and a stronghold built to withstand the forces of time and nature. In this case, however, the warrior planet is in full attack mode. The tower is under assault from all four elements. So again, if you want, you can grab your tower card in any of your tarot decks and look at it. So it often depicts, right, the burst of lightning strikes at the peak. We see wind and clouds roil through the air. We see often the raging sea pounding at the foundations, and then we see the earth quaking. So right, that we get the all four elements there. Both the card and the planet symbolize quick, sudden bursts of energy and power. They represent intensity, potency, drive, and desire. They are markers of inspiration and the impetus for change. In most cases, it's impossible to resist a bolt from the blue or a direct hit from Mars's machinery of war. In a tarot reading, the tower usually heralds a dramatic change. It sometimes refers to breakups or breakdowns, the disintegration or collapse of a structure you thought was stable, like a relationship, a home, or a career. It can symbolize the destruction of false ideas and beliefs, a purge, or an intervention. Just as frequently, however, the tower represents enlightenment, inspiration, and release, right? We kind of get the breakdown and then we get the building of something new in the same kind of card. For anyone trapped in an outgrown situation, it's a get out of jail free card. Ultimately, the tower experiences is one of purification, protection, and self-preservation as an old structure is torn down so renovation can begin. Astrologically, Mars is associated with confidence and power. It symbolizes sexuality, stamina, and strength. It governs ambition, aggression, assertiveness, and impulse. Mars also rules sports and competitions, war games that take the place of battle during peacetime. Mars rules Aries, the sign of leadership and action, as we talked about before, along with the first house, where we look for information about self-image and physical appearance. It says in medicine, Mars presides over blood and the male sex organs. It's traditionally associated with fever, accidents, trauma, pain, and surgery. And the tower corresponds to the element of fire, right? So the tower is fire, Aries is fire, Mars is fire, hence why they're all associated with each other. So let's get into Aries' association with more of the court cards. So I'm going to pull that up real quickly in my book here. So the court cards associated with Aries are the Queen of Wands and the King of Pentacles. If you listen to my last episode about Pisces, so each of the zodiac signs has like overlap with some of the court cards. So for Pisces, we talked about Knight of Cups is sort of associated with like the first part of Pisces season, the Knight of Cups associated with the second part, and then finally the Queen of Wands is associated with the last part, generally about March 1st through the 20th. And then as we transition into Aries season, we are still with the Queen of Wands energy. So each of the court cards gets associated with three like 9-day periods of the year. So this is like tarot and the wheel of the year. And so again, yeah, so for Aries, we get the Queen of Wands for the first about 2-ish to 3 weeks of Aries season. And then the last kind of section of Aries season starts to get associated with the King of Pentacles. So again, if we look at it for this year, the Queen of Wands is associated with the end of Pisces season. So starting on March 11th through April 10th. And then as we move into April 11th, we start to get associated with the King of Pentacles. So again, when we think of the Queen of Wands, right, we get the wands as the fire energy. And we get, again, interesting that we have King and Queen here. So both kind of powerful symbols. Pentacles associated, right, with grounding or ground energy there. And so we get that aspect. The King of Pentacles, again, is for the second kind of section of the season of that year. I'm trying to think of other associations as well with those. But let's move into the minor arcana cards for the last bit. So each of those, again, sections, I think they're about 9 or 10 day sections of each zodiac season. So for the first part, again, March 21st through the 30th, we're associated with the Two of Wands, right? So all these are that fire energy again. We're kind of early on in the Wands cards. And that association is with the planetary sub-ruler of that time period is Mars. So we kind of have like double Mars energy. As we move into the sort of second section of the Aries zodiac season, about from March 31st to April 10th. So again, depending on your when you're listening, you can listen for which one is most relevant right now. So I think as this episode comes out, will be in that section, and that is associated with the Three of Wands. So again, associated with fire, and this time associated with the planetary sub-ruler of the sun, which obviously also like very much associated with fire since it's a fireball that keeps us toasty, warm, and alive on this planet. And then the last section of the zodiac Aries season, about from April 11th through the 20th every year, is associated with the Four of Wands, also associated with fire, although its planetary sub-ruler is Venus, right? And if you again listen to the section talking about the major arcana cards, right, Venus is associated with the Empress. So we sort of move into more of a, I don't know, gentler, more we move into Taurus season next after Aries, which is an earth sign, right? So I feel like this starts to resemble that we move, out of the fire initiation energy into something that's like a bit more grounded, a bit more practical, maybe a bit more like planned. Whereas when we think of, right, Aries as the initiator, right? It is this like spark, right? It sets things off. It starts the fire, right? It doesn't sustain necessarily. It doesn't have a plan for the future, but it kicks things off, right? And then as we kind of get to the end of Aries season, right, we move into the King of Pentacles energy. We move into the Four of Wands. So we're moving into this like more grounded, more, again, Venus associated with very like lusciousness, or the Empress, like love, flowers, right? As we move into April and May of the year, a lot more of the flowering time of year, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, at least where I live. The flowers are kind of starting, but we're in early flower season. I have tulips and daffodils and some dandelions and not a lot else there. So that's kind of where we're at with, again, tarot, the major arcana cards, the court cards, the minor arcana cards, and then just kind of overall, again, to do the overview. So Aries is associated with the first house of the zodiac houses. Its rulership is physical appearance and first impressions. Its ruling sign, right, is Aries, the ram, associated with leadership, right? Again, leadership often about sometimes being the initiator, right? Sometimes saying, okay, I'm going to lead, and then kind of helping folks make decision or starting things out, right? Initiating, where are we going to go? Like leading, and then also, right, but being able to listen to others is an important part of being a leader as well. And then its ruling planet is Mars, planet of energy and aggression there. And Aries is all about association with self-awareness, leadership, drive, initiative, physical appearance, and first impressions. And again, that's kind of its association in the houses. So if you ever look at your own birth chart, which you can look at online, you can find an astrology app. You can I use the Chani, Chani astrology app. I also have the Chani astrological planner. So you kind of fill out your own birth chart. But if you do those, you can see what is in your first house, because everyone's are slightly different as to how your chart is arranged, and what signs are in there. So you can look at that to see kind of what in Aries season is maybe going to be highlighted for you. You can check that out. All right, so let's dive in and see what the cards have to say today on this topic of Aries season, initiative energy. What are we kicking off in our zodiac a new year for spring? If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, etc. I'm going to go grab a deck and we can get into it. I'm actually going to pull from the Citadel, a Fantasy Oracle deck by Fen Great. I'll put it up on the screen. So this is not tarot, this is Oracle. I feel like this deck has colors of Aries, right? We have the red, the fire sort of energy. So yeah, something about this deck was speaking to me today. So let's see. Yeah, what do we need to learn in Aries season? What else can inform us from what we talked about today? What are we missing? What do we might still need to know? What do we need to pay most attention to? All right, let's see here. All right, I picked the guide, inheritance and correction. And it sort of shows a person holding a bell and like ringing it. We see some water, we see some like waterfall type things, and we see keys in the background. Again, I'll put it up on the screen so you can look at it. These cards are beautiful. Okay. The guide. So it says, it depicts beneath the thundering echo of a waterfall, a bell rings clear and compelling, commanding the attention of all close enough to hear. Almost without thinking, you feel your feet turn you towards the waters and the figure beneath. The guide has inherited their position, and the path they walk has been predetermined. It is their role to correct the mistakes made by their predecessor and set things to rights. You are in a situation that isn't ideal, but it's up to you to make the most of it. Holding a grudge against what led you here won't achieve anything. It's time to accept the cards you've been dealt. Once you're on the other side of this, you'll be better placed to reflect on what you've learned from the experience. But for now, it's time to put in some hard work and push through. So, interesting, right? Something's going on. we're feeling a little bit of like resistance perhaps. But we got to look at, right, accept the cards we've been dealt. And it's almost like a tower moment when I think about it. It's sort of like something happened, something doesn't feel ideal. And then once you're on the other side of this, it'll be a better place to reflect on what you've learned from the experience. But put in the hard work and push through, right? We kind of like have to push through into the new thing, right? Which I feel like is perfect for Aries season, right? We're putting ourselves or moving from the Pisces season of the prior zodiac year, which is the end of the year astrologically, and we're moving into something new. It's like a very much a birth metaphor, right? You're like squeezing through the tunnel, the birth canal until you're birthing something new into the new space. All right. Well, thank you for listening today. So again, for this year in 2026, expect weekly episodes published on Monday mornings. I'll be putting out guest episodes where guests join me on the podcast about once a month. Every episode will be on video going out on Spotify and YouTube if you want to watch the podcast and kind of see things as they unfold. Or you can always listen to the audio anywhere you get your podcasts. If you ever want to find the links for the decks, those are always in the show notes. You can check out the Patreon if you want to see the images that I pull during the podcast episodes or the decks or any of the books that I reference. Those go up on the video, but if you're just listening, you can always go to the Patreon to check out the kind of blog posts for the episode, and that's all free over there. You can check those out. Take a look at the images that I pulled. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the podcast, I'll have my form linked in the show notes to be a guest, so I can gather their info and reach out and plan a day to talk to them. And thanks again for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. You can tune in every Monday morning to check out the latest episode. You can always email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com, with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.